Alright, ladies and gentlemen, and now we're back in business with a community showdown between the Tomb Kings and Skaven. It's going to be Ice Power Total War facing off against Valkanos. We have a clan duel between XMT and RTK. Let's get this party started and have some fun. So for the forces of the Bone Daddies, there's a couple ways Tomb Kings play this matchup. Sometimes you'll see the range superiority builds where they basically just get Ushabti Great Bows, Bone Giants, Caskets, try and overcast Spirit Leech and snipe these Skaven range tools, force them up, and then hammer them down while they advance. Another way is the all-in rush, which is a more common tactic these days. It's basically chariots, Nehekar horsemen, a Tomb King, just really get in there and trying to overwhelm these Skaven defensive positions. But what we're seeing here from Ice Power Total War is a pretty mixed forces build, actually. Still going to be rocking triple chariot, double Ushabti Great Bow, which are, you know, it's hit and miss. So they can be kind of punished by Jezzails, but again, they can endure the Jezzails for some time with their durability, and then the chariots can shut down the Jezzails, and then you have an advantage, right? So there is some back and forth in that regard. Here we do have Ye Old Ark in the black with Spirit Leech and Purple Sun. A Tomb Prince here as well. And the backfield is going to be a couple of horsemen and some spearmen. So cool army there from Ice Power. Now for the Great Valkanos, let's see what his rat force here is rocking. Throt the Unclean, a man after my own heart. Throt is probably one of my favorite Skaven lords to use. He has kind of fallen off in popularity recently after he did get his nerfs, and the Skaven roster, of course, had nerfs to Skaven slaves. So there was a lot of things that, you know, kind of dissuaded people from bringing the big fat rat. But against Tomb Kings, I think he's pretty great. Mobile, the Rat Ogre summon is highly useful when you're being swarmed by chariots and horsemen. He can go after Ark in the Black and the Tomb Prince and definitely does some work. Over here we have a Packmaster as well. Packmaster is going to be here with his support and basically just giving him good anti-gooning. So if there's like Tomb Scorpions, Camarine War Sphinxes, chariots, like the Packmaster and Throt are going to be pretty effective against those two choices. So aside from that, two Jezzails, Rat Ogres in the back, Ogres on the defensive flanks, which is another great position by Valkanos here. I love it. The Ogres are one of the few countermeasures Skaven have against the High Mass. And yeah, just move it up. Globadiers will deal with the infantry, and it looks like he's not really putting much respect on the infantry's name. Only one Globadier unit and a Skaven slave front line. So I'm curious, that could be the one thing that might come back to bite him looking at this build, although that's not necessarily the case. He's got Clan Vulcan Tail Slashers, and I would imagine he's got a Plague Priest somewhere with summons. So okay, he should be able to buffer off with summons. I think he's going to be fine in that regard. Now the Great Bows, of course, being out-traded by the Natty Bubo Sharpshooters. So very wisely, Ice Power Total War is going to pull back, wait for his chariots and skeleton boys to get in there and really disrupt the missile formation, and then live long and prosper. Globadier fire coming. Oh man, look at the way they... Oh, it looks like they were doing like the overhand like dagger stab thing. You guys ever seen that skit of like the... it's a Jim Carrey SNL skit from the 90s where he's like a karate instructor and he's like teaching people how to defend from like attacks with knives. And then he like always does the overhand attack. You know, it's hilarious. Anyways, check it out if you haven't seen it. It's pretty funny. But skeletons advancing, battling the Skaven slaves. The Clash of Fates is upon us. Throt using his Chungus Mass and his Ogres here to get the chariots. And a beautiful catch by Valkanos, man. Instantly taking out those skeleton chariots. Whereas on the other side of the battlefield here, we do have a pretty aggressive engagement from Ice Power. He is going to be moving in, Spirit Leeching the Ogres, and attacking with the Tomb Prince as well as Arkan, which is also good because if you can nullify the mass here, then the Hordes of Hell will be able to advance through. But so far, Valkanos probably getting a slightly better early engagement. The Skeleton Chariots are punished. The Ushabti Great Bows, though, are now in position, and things could start changing. I would imagine the Great Bows will either shoot the Rat Ogres, the Pit Fighters, or they'll switch on to the Packmaster and Throt and try and snipe them. Not the Chosen of the Gods, but the basic Ushabti Great Bows. Well, good summon there by Ice Power Total War. He does goon the Rat Ogres back as well, and is going to be starting to penetrate into the Skaven back line. But the Skaven does have a fair amount of reserves here. Maybe pulling these reserves back here would make for a little bit of a quicker protection, but for the most part, Valkanos very, very on point here. Gets his Clan Rats right on top of the Skeleton Warriors. Should be able to partially target them, although it looks like some of the Skeletons did get past them. We'll see how the AI tethering does indeed go. Looking back to this side of the battlefield, the Chariots do finally get some action, slamming into the Skaven Slaves, and it looks like this entire Skaven position is going to be folded right here, while the Globadiers just finishing off these Skeleton Warriors in the front. Jezzails seem to be shooting. At least one of them is getting in there and doing some beautiful work against the Ushabti Great Bow in the backfield. And the Natty Bubo Sharpshooters here also doing an okay job, but they are a little bit kind of inundated here, while the Pit Fighters, Helm's Deep, are going to be retreating. I guess they're actually called Hell's Deep. That's a pretty coincidental name there. Ushabti dropping down on top of the Natty Bubo Sharpshooters. Very, very good choice here to shut them down and continue the pressure. They are at full health, and Jezzails are a unit that's deceivingly hard to catch. They actually have 38 speed on foot, so you'll think like, oh, it's a weapons team. They're carrying a shield and a sniper rifle. My state troopers will catch them, but they always find a way to kind of weasel away with their high speed, and I can't tell you how many games I've lost against Hadri's because of that. Now, back here on the other side of the battlefield, we do have the Nehekar Horsemen swarming the Packmaster. A pretty nice catch here for Ice Power Total War, because you can see the bounce power is showing Valkanos to be very ahead, But I think killing this Packmaster, which was at full health, is going to equalize the game quite a bit. So very, very nice catch there. Definitely a big blunder there, overextending that guy. But of course, it happens with Skaven. There's a ton of stuff to manage, and oftentimes you're going to be chasing things. But that Packmaster probably going to be escorted, although there is a chance he will get ahead of the Horseman, and with his speed, which is 105, Skaven do have a passive that when they retreat, they get a speed buff. If Valkanos can rally that Packmaster, I think he'll kind of reassert his position as being ahead here in this game. More Globadeer Fire, beautiful, just continuing to chip down these Skeleton Warriors. The Clan Vulcan Tail Slashers are quite healthy. Throt the Unclean and some Ogres here in the backfield holding like champions. But Ice Power also getting very, very good Chariot play. He's able to really hammer into this Jezzail position, and it looks like the Skaven do not have the mass nearby to really protect that. These Jezzails might come back. Where are the other ones? The other ones, I think, I lost track of them. They're running off somewhere, but yeah, these Chariots should be able to butter their bread. Although some Ogres are coming back. Maybe the Ogres and Throt can salvage that. Did the Packmaster find his way back? He's still being escorted off. This is pretty important. We have a fair amount of distance, but this Packmaster might be able to survive against the Nehekar Horseman if he does rally. We'll have to come back and check on that in just a minute, because I don't want to miss too much of the kind of main battle. Ice Power has finally gotten his Great Bows online, and this is where the Tomb Kings kind of go from being the aggressor here to kind of pulling back, using Arcane Summons to just buy time for the Great Bows and just continue to pound the Skaven force. They still have some mobility that with good micro can usually avoid most of their countermeasures via the Rat Ogres. And the Skaven, of course, have become more scattered over the battlefield, which is very standard in these type of games. So Spirit Leech going down on the Pit Fighters here. Here comes Ye Old Throt the Unclean hunting down Arcane the Black. Arcane is running and cackling an evil skeleton Necromancer. And the Tomb Prince, though, might be a little bit vulnerable to Throt here, although with the Great Bow support plus Arcane maybe jumping in there. Ooh, very fancy summon there. Now, if he can actually trap this Tomb Prince here, that summon will be 100% worth it with the Creature Killer follow-up. I love that. Will he stay there, or will he allow the Ogres to just continue to sit there and do the business? Oh, man, and Valkanos rallies the Packmaster and jukes the Nehekar Horseman. I had a feeling that was going to happen. It pretty much always does. The Horsemen are much slower. Their speed is 78, so it's it's typically going to go down like that. Arcane the Black is now getting hunted as well. I mean, Arcane is definitely not quick. 65 speed compared to 95 on the big fat rat, who still has the Creature Killer. Looks like a Spirit Leech is going to be going down. What Arcane will have to do here, as Valkanos does secure more of a lead here in this game, is he's going to have to run Arcane through his Ushabti Great Bows. And as soon as I say that, you can see Ice Power does give the order. And he's going to have to use the mass of the Great Bows to protect him. But he is getting really good damage. You can see that Throt the Unclean did get hit with the Curse from the Tomb Prince, which rampages him. So now, potentially, Arcane could find a way to escape. Maybe with the Ushabti Great Bow support, he can do this. What a clutch survival. Those Great Bows getting that turn fire. Arcane the Black lives, and man, that actually gets Ice Power back in the game for sure. And Unholy Legion of Skaven is advancing, but Ushabti Great Bows, Arcane, and still having these Chariots online is really punishing. Also, Horseman coming back. There's a Packmaster on the edge, which is being surrounded by Horsemen. Should be able to kill it. Its leadership is at 8 right now. It's at about 1,300, and I don't think the Packmaster is going to get away. So getting that thing off the map will certainly be a huge win for the forces of the Tomb Kings. Back here, the Rat's continuing to pursue. We might do a little bit of fast forwarding in this game because it will devolve into some open field chasing and repositioning and, hunting units off the edge of the map, which can take a couple minutes and, of course, isn't the most exciting. That's one of the cool things about doing replays. And here, the archers shooting downtown into the Horsemen. Horsemen fleeing for the hills, -13 leadership. They are breaking. I'm looking here, Ushabti Great Bows running in pretty much every direction. Ice Power knowing that he needs to scatter to the winds, create separation from the much slower Skaven force, and live long and prosper. I'm sure the Skaven are like, release the hounds, where are the wolf rats at? They need to chase them down. The armor-piercing wolf rats would easily tear these guys apart for sure, but yeah, you don't always bring them in this matchup. Chariots hunting down Jezzails. Packmaster somehow able to put the moves like Jagger on those guys, and it does get away, and it's regenerating. That is very strong. Packmaster coming back, thinking about attacking skeletons, but doesn't want any of that for sure. Kind of an awkward thing. It looks like some Ogres charging in. Packmaster actually going to be going into fight, which is a bold strategy, Cotton. Might be able to get him with the Rat Ogre support, and it looks like with a little bit of proper cycle charging, Valkanos does trigger the Crumble. Arcane the Black comes in as well. Drops a Spirit Leech here, and the Ogres do get a very nice charge onto the Horsemen, while Arcane does potentially take a shot there. A little bit of light Jezzail fire, but he does drop that very, very nice summon. Although the Sharpshooters only had 3 shots, so it makes me wonder if that was worth it at that point, but I suppose it does prevent Arcane from getting blasted with those shots. And in the heat of battle, it's often hard to see the ammunition. If you see a bar and you see ammo, you just assume it's still a threat, right? The other Ushabti Great Bow waddling around the back of the map. Ooh, 7 right here with a shit ton of ammo. That's going to be very tough for Valkanos to deal with. So the Great Bow's coming in, 100% going to go after the Packmaster. Skeleton summon from Arcane causing problems, and look at that. The Packmaster just absolutely sniped. And the overcasted Spirit Leech, or maybe just a basic Spirit Leech, but I would imagine Arcane's going to come here and try and finish off this rat. Ooh, -5 leadership, 1 leadership, and the Packmaster is shattered. Yeah, he's shattered, man. What an absolute nail-biter of the match. So now the Packmaster and Throt are both off the battlefield. Ice Power does have the 2 Shopty Grapos Horsemen. And suddenly it's looking like Skaven might be in a little bit of trouble. I mean, it could still go either way. Really, really nice Globadier Fire. Able to potentially crumble down those Horsemen, although it looks like they do get broken at the last second. The Skaven Horde is chasing with all of their might. Looks like we do have Clan Rat Spears. The Plague Priest, who probably is holding a couple summons in the back pocket. And the Shopty Grapo in mortal combat with Skaven Slaves, of course, should be relatively durable there. Yeah, because what's going to happen here is pretty much the entire Skaven army is going to break, and the Plague Priest might be able to get a win with summons. He does drop a summon here, which is just going to be kited out, while Ice Power Total War moves in to fight here. And, you know, whenever I fast forward games, it makes me feel like I'm one of those announcers at, like, an auction who's just, like, just bulleting off points super quick. Just total nonsense. You can barely understand what they're saying. But Ark in the Black here does have another summon. No, he actually attacks with the Chariots in the Ushopti, while the other Ushopti do run around the edge of the map away from the summons, which are now gone. Balance of Power is a little bit Skaven favored, but that's mostly because there is a Plague Monk summon on the battlefield, which will disappear in a moment. They do get a partial engagement against the Ushopti here. Ice Power, of course, obeying the attacking rule by attacking the Clan Rats, and another summon is active, which also obeys the attacking rule. And the Skaven do whip out a summon of their own to make sure that the Plague Priest doesn't just get annihilated by these skeletons, which he wouldn't have a good time. So the battle continues to grind on. The Ushopti Grapo here in the position just waiting to shoot. Now what I should be doing here is getting separation, which he immediately does. He pulls back, gets separation. Now when this little rat goes into open field, he's just going to be getting Last Samurai. And he's running and juking. He's doing a little Matrix action, you know, bullet time. That's pretty crazy stuff. Although, you know, a lot of people credit The Matrix with being the first bullet time movie, right? Where they have that, like, slow-mo bullet, like, where he's, like, leaning backwards. But if you actually look at Blade, the movie Blade with Wesley Snipes, I don't know if it was the first or second one, but there is a bullet time scene in that. It just isn't as epic. Like, the vampire guy, like, dodges side to side, and it's not nearly as epic and climactic as the Matrix variant. The Matrix one was much more well done, but, yeah, just a little bit of a random fact of the day. So Plague Priest moving in. He's just going to bump and grind against Ushopti. Ark in the Black going to be lurking. Although that little Plague Priest, man, just getting some huge beatdowns on those Ushopti there. He's not messing about. He probably has to summon. Ushopti Grapo is just going to be ripping shots at him. He basically needs to wait until you know, his opponent runs out of ammo and is forced to attack, like, nonstop. He's probably going to think about using his last summon here. I would imagine he has one. It looks like the little rat that could is wavering. 18 leadership. He does get a nice blow in that Chariot. Might actually be able to crumble it. Negative leadership on the Chariot. It's at, what, -7, -27 here. That Chariot probably going to be going, good night, sweet prince. So there it runs. The little rat, -122, and army losses kicks in. What a scrappy game. That's some tournament shit right there. Very well played to Valkanos and Ice Power. And yeah, I mean, that game could have gone either way. A couple little things on both sides, right? Like, just made the difference. And that's always a sign of a good, evenly matched set of players, and yeah, pretty decent game balance considering. So considering, yeah, our whole Total War situation. All right, so taking a look at the armies, definitely thought this force was cool. Ushopti Grapos were huge MVPs. Chariots did fine, 1700 on that one. One of them got crumped, of course. And I love the double Packmaster, like the Brood Horror, excuse me. Like, I really like using Brood Horrors. They're one of my favorite ways to play Skaven for sure. As far as this matchup goes, I mean, what options do you have? You have Throt. I mean, Skrulk is still quite good. He gets abused a little bit by some of the, you know, the mounted characters and stuff, but overall, yeah, like, Lieber can be pretty nice for finishing the job. But I really do like Throt. The healing, the creature killer play from Valkanos was so clutch too. Like, dropping that and then, like, beating down the Tomb Prince was such a nice catch. Just beautiful play on both sides. All right, I believe Valkanos doing his YouTube as well, so make sure to check him out if you haven't. And I think Ice Power streams, so I'll check with both these guys, see if I can link to their stuff, and if so, make sure to check them out. All right, that's it. Take care of yourselves. We'll see you next time. And I know you want some last minute value on these things, so there you go. We're gonna give you what you're looking for. All right, see you next time. Cheers.